Hello everyone, March 23rd, 2023. I'm back to talk about the Lisa Edwards story. I just realized I don't have the pen for my tablet. I don't know where it's at. I'm here to talk about the Lisa Edwards story and what happened to her and what should never happen to anybody again. I have a news clip that we're going to watch together, and I'm going to give you my opinion of things that could be done differently and why society is in the situation that it's in. You just can't wring your hands and say, well, you know, that's just the way it is. It sucks. Well, yeah, it does suck, but it needs to change. And I want you to know that I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a cop, I'm not married to a cop, I'm not married to a doctor. I'm not in that loop at all. I'm on the other side of the coin as a patient, an advocate, a caregiver, a mother, a daughter. I'm that person. So I'm going to tell you what I think that they could have done differently.
They're not particularly well qualified.
Mark Bachman, who spent 35 years in federal and local law enforcement, says the officers could have asked for a mental health counselor.
Wait, I'm going to go back.
Paul from Fort Sanders, situation with few options.
Oops.
Hey, we've got a...
John, we've heard from many people concerned about how Lisa Edwards was treated, so we reached out to two law enforcement experts with about 85 years of combined experience. They say this was a difficult situation with few options.
Hey, we've got a trespasser on site.
There was more options. There was more options. The hospital could have called her family and made sure she had someplace to go. Lord Oatmeal could have called the preacher since he's so concerned about his Sundays. Well, I guess he did say he wanted to eat his oatmeal and coffee, not get to church. There's that. What does a person do when somebody is discharged and the doctor says that there's nothing wrong, and a person that's been in a wheelchair, all of a sudden they say that they can walk? That has to be addressed. That cannot happen. People need to be listened to. So two hospitals didn't listen to her, and therefore the police didn't listen to her because they listened to the hospital, because everybody listens to the doctors. And who on earth is going to walk by and help her? An elderly woman being drug around by cops in front of an emergency room. A common sense person would think, well, there must be something that I'm missing. Only to find out, no, there's nothing that you were missing. An elderly disabled woman was manhandled, ridiculed, made fun of in an emergency room driveway, right in front of the door, basically, in the United States.
Agreed, calling for a car lower to the ground was
all right,
a wise
let's get
decision.
on to the cops.
The available options to the officer were pretty limited.
The key thing Kenny would have changed was the officer's tone.
All I want to do is give me some coffee and some oatmeal. I'm not going to deal with your mess this morning.
See Chuckles there in the background, behind Mr. Oatmeal Band,
which I'm sure is
the Lord's
result of
Oatmeal.
frustration, which is certainly understandable.
Whether that violates KPD policy is up to internal affairs.
They could. They might give them a letter of reprimand. I'm not sure. That may happen.
Maybe.
I don't believe, ultimately, that at the end of the day they did anything wrong.
I would say
They're investigating it.
That's gaslighting. They want us to believe what we saw was, well, you know, no big deal. No, that was a very big deal. In the United States of America, an elderly American citizen in front of an emergency room at a major hospital was tortured, ridiculed, ignored. Her pleas were not heard. I can't stop. I can't not talk about this. Anyways, that's your lesson on gaslighting. And, you know, the reason why those cops laughing and thinking it's so funny is because this guy's on TV, on YouTube, on the news, trying to gaslight us into believing that what we saw was perfectly normal and there's nothing wrong with it, because in the society that we live in, we throw our mentally ill people out in the streets to fend for themselves and then act like we're the ones that are making something big out of something that's nothing. I am sorry, this is very big to me. And that one cop that I thought was going to punch Lisa, he's actually a security guard. I want him fired too. I want him fired. I want them all fired. And who was the one exactly that said they saw her walking? You know, I did hear that too. So I don't know what the doctor thought when he discharged her. And I want to know what happened with her ankle. Was her ankle hurt, even if it wasn't shattered, if she sprained it? If she's paralyzed on her left side, it would be very easier for her to fall and do that to her ankle. Oh my God. And I brought up about the, did I bring up about this? I don't know. Okay, I'm going to bring up the things that they could have done. These are things that you can do. Now, police officers buy these and put them in all police cars. It's a pulse oximeter. I have one because I live the loop of the other side of hospitals and cops. Oops, I got to turn it on. It's dead. So just to show you how much in the loop I am. Oh no, there it goes. 97. See? You can tell within that quick what somebody, at least what their oxygen is. But you know what? Even if she was mentally ill, that still gives you no right to talk to her that way and treat her that way. Nobody. You know, I just seen on the news yesterday in a mental institution where they check people in, the cops brought some guy in there. 9 cops and medical workers all piled on top of this guy who was handcuffed and shackled. Killed him. He died. You know, they were in a big cafeteria. They had their tables welded into the floor, so, you know, I know you don't want people to hurt themselves, but, oh my God, he could have dealt with a bumped head more than a suffocation. He's dead. This has to stop. Mentally ill people are getting, I don't even know the word to use for it. They're just getting mistreated in life, in society. I understand mental institutions didn't work out, you know, but, you know, they have nursing homes for old people. They didn't shut all those down. There has to be a place for people in society that are legitimately unable to care for themselves and their families can't do it, you know. You can't live with a schizophrenic person and deal with that every day and not get any help. You know, some things are just too hard. And she wasn't even mentally ill. What was wrong with her was what she said was wrong with her. And nobody listened. Okay, I have my list of things they could have done. I had ChatGPT ask me. And the other day I asked ChatGPT to help me with a little story, you know, to write this all out so it makes sense, not just my gibberish. And it says that, I saved it. I hope I got it all on film. It said, you know, you can't make accusations like that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I seen it right in front of me. Anyways. Okay, I did in ChatGPT 10 things you can do when somebody's having a stroke in front of you. I know it's backwards, but I'm not going to read all of it. I'm just going to go over that. Okay, so the first thing you would do is call for emergency medical services. You kept complaining that she was dead weight. There was a clue. She wasn't fighting you. She was begging for help to go back into the hospital, and she couldn't move. And then it says, stay with the person and reassure them that help is on the way. Try to keep calm and comfortable. There was none of that happening, not at all. You did whatever you could to make it the most uncomfortable for her as you could till she died. And you should position the person on their side with their head slightly elevated. No, you didn't do anything like that. Do not give the person anything to eat or drink. No, you didn't do that, so that was good. But you offered her a cigarette in your snarky little attitudes. Loose and tight clothing. Well, the hospital was so nice to put them in their hospital clothes before they threw her out to sit in a cold garage. At least somebody had a blanket. I guess it was probably her blanket. It did not look like a hospital blanket. Oh, where's my other list? Oh, okay. Follow medical instructions. If medical professionals arrive on the scene, follow their instructions carefully. They may ask you to help with certain tasks. Well, you know, the hospital did call and say they wanted her thrown out and that she was crazy and that she could walk. Which, again, doesn't matter if she was all those things. This should have never happened. And then the security guard talking about her bowel movements. that should be under the Americans with Privacy Act. They want to, do that act so much that they can't even call her family. Then why should the whole world know what happened in her medical issues in this situation? And what kind of hospital throws out a person for making an accident in the hospital? What do you do when somebody comes in with a car accident and their guts hanging out or their brains? I don't believe this went down the way it did. Something is not making sense. When I had my surgery for my mesangial duplication, the person that was in the bed next to mine, she was there for cancer of her bowels, and she was pooping all over the place. Hospitals don't throw you out for pooping all over the place. Something is not making sense. I gotta hurry. My memory's about done. And then just stay with them and make them comfortable. Not shove them into the back of a police car, cram them in there. That's not ADA. Where is the ADA? How come there's no wheelchair accessible police cars? Especially for people that have been taunted, abused, and ridiculed before they die. See, if the police car had had one of these in it, they could have at least seen when her oxygen went to 0. And, and the talk screen. In that video I just did, I'll link it below, you can watch the whole thing. He said with her talk screen and pathology, okay, I can understand she had a stroke, I could see that. But her toxology screen, she'd been in the hospital the last 48 hours. What on earth could she have died from in her drug-wise? More questions. I'll be following up in a few days. Thanks for watching, and yeah, we're gonna make changes. Bye, everyone.